Barkha, tell me, unfortunately or fortunately, we had the feeling of being loved and admired. Your generation has moved us to a level where there is a lot of controversy, hatred. You even have websites, I hate Barkha websites and trolls and all this kind of thing. What happened? What did you guys do?
I think it happened to some degree because of the very nature of the medium of television. Television, I think, creates in the mind of the person watching a false sense of intimacy. You immediately have
So Barkha is in my bedroom, so I can do with her what I like. I can scream and yell like an abuser.
I own her. I own her. She's mine. If I want to give her a whack, I will. If I want to adore her, I will. If I want to transfer my fears or anxiety or disgust about something else that's going on, but she's a great symbol.
Have you had stalkers?
I've had stalkers.
And what do you do about that?
Online stalkers mostly. Block them. It's never got to the point where I need to do something more than block somebody really abusive on Twitter.
You really react to hate blogs, you know, like
Not so much now.
That you made this guy Chaitanya.
No, I would not call that a hate blog. And
Okay.
I would not call Chaitanya Kunte's blog a hate blog. I do not regret sending Chaitanya Kunte a legal notice at the risk of earning the wrath of my entire sort of online, people I engage with on Twitter. And I'll tell you why. Chaitanya Kunte's blog accused me of being complicit in the death of somebody in Mumbai during the siege when I wasn't even in the city on that night.
Obviously, you don't take well to tweets and blogs and you react to it.
I do. I'm an extremely emotional, reactive person. That's why I respond to those idiotic people who send me abuse on tweet and even answer them back.
You really shouldn't. You're crazy. Who does that? That's insane.
But
you answer every single tweet, every single blog, ignore.
Got to be a little crazy to be in this in this profession of ours.
But let's talk about the accusations then, since you brought it up. They said that you spoke to somebody and asked them where are your relatives, and they gave the location.
And that wasn't me. And this is how myths get created.
Okay,
that reporter wasn't me.
The other story is that you were told that there are no hostages, and then you called up the manager of Oberoi, who told you, yes, we have 100, and you said we have 100 hostages. Therefore, suddenly everybody knew, including the terrorists, that there were 100 hostages because of Barkha.
No. Firstly, it's fascinating to me. It's happened in Kargil. It's happened in Mumbai. How I become the symbol for what every other journalist has done. It's like it's all transferred to Barkha. There is only one journalist on the spot, it's Barkha. I find it absolutely like Hemant Karkare's example, the fact that I called out, Chaitanya Kunte said I was responsible for Hemant Karkare's death. Hemant Karkare died the first night I was in Delhi. The Chambers conversation that you report didn't happen with me, happened with another set of television reporters whom I'm actually not going to name. I know who they were, but I'm not going to name.
And the Oberoi story?
And the Oberoi story, I do remember having said at some point, not the exact number, but when there was confusion over the fact that the hotel had been cleared, I did say, no, we still have reason to believe that there are people who are trapped as hostages inside. That I did say. I don't believe I was the only one who said it. I think journalists across the board did refer to the fact that people were trapped inside. Did we make, looking back, inadvertent mistakes during the Mumbai siege? I think so. I think the biggest mistake that we did on day one was to go live. The second day, not because of a government diktat which came 3 days later, we on our own started transmitting with a 15-minute delay. We didn't know at that time that there were handlers monitoring the terrorists who were inside. We got to know this after the siege was over.
They also said that you're hysterical, upset, sweety, screaming.
Hysterical is a style. You want to hate me, hate me. Hysterical is a style. It's not an ethical question. I mean, I often watch things of myself and I say, could I have done it better? Yeah, sure, I could have done it better. Sometimes. Sometimes I like how I've done it. As a viewer,
don't you think the pitch has gotten on
Which
television?
Pitch? Are we once again? Let's separate these
not
two
your
things.
pitch, not your pitch. I'm talking about pitch on television, in television journalism. Do you think now that there's a period of before Arnab and after Arnab?
Okay, there are three questions in there, and I'm going to answer all three one by one. Let's take Kargil first, because I do want to say something about it. Kargil, this mythology of did she switch a camera light on, did she ask for the Bofors gun to be fired, did she use the same sat phones that, by the way, everybody in the army used, and therefore positions were given? Crap. I mean, it is absolute crap, and there is no other word for it. In fact, the army chief in his book said, Barkha came to me, I was a young girl then, it really upset me in a way that it doesn't now. I was 26. And I went to him and I said, sir, did I do something wrong? Why are people saying all this thing? And he said, it's such rubbish. He said, when I write my book on Kargil, I'll say this was such rubbish.
What about that Admiral Suresh Mehta who who attacked you?
He retracted it. He sent me a letter apologizing. And do you know why I sent a legal notice to Chaitanya Kunte? Because when I wrote to Admiral Mehta and I said, sir, why did you say this when the army chief said something else? He said, you know, my officer showed me a blog. I said, which blog? It was Chaitanya Kunte's blog.
Okay.
That is why the legal notice was sent to Chaitanya Kunte.
Many people talk about this television today as before Arnab and after Arnab. Do you think he's changed journalism? Do you support his kind of journalism? What do you think?
I may not personally relate to a certain style adopted by him, but I think style, as I've said before, is a very personal thing. Some viewers like a much more aggressive, combative, in-your-face, judgmental approach to news. Others prefer a more take a step back, and it's a deeply personal thing. Let's not mix that with his journalism. There's space for all kinds of styles and all kinds of journalism. And I don't necessarily agree with you, Madhu, that he has changed the rules or Times now has changed the rules of journalism. Viewers are contradictory. When people are loud, they say they're hysterical. When they're not loud, then they say too soft.
But before Arnab started taking positions and going after people and demanding repeated answers, it wasn't done on television before. He was the first one to do this, actually, following the Fox format.
It's one kind of journalism. I don't necessarily agree with you that you can't bring about change or accountability without being a little impolite.
Can I understand what I'm being accused of?
No, you're not being accused of
What am I being
anything.
accused of?
No, I have to come back to this.
No, what am I? Let everyone speak. Let everyone speak on their own this thing. It's very important to establish the accusation. Right, but
I think we are done.
You had the idea of clearing your name through that show. I don't think it did the trick, really, of what should have been done. It became too noisy and defensive.
I think my position on it, despite what people may have egged me on to say or not say from that time, has remained pretty consistent. I continue to believe that, as far as I'm concerned, and my conversations were concerned, this was a completely manufactured
Was she a source of information for you during that time of telling you what was happening in the telecom?
No, I've never covered
field?
the telecom sector. I've never covered the telecom sector in my life. I'm not a business journalist. Of course, I was broadly
How did you
aware.
meet her in the first place? How did you ever meet her?
She set up an interview that I did with Ratan Tata.
So then she developed a kind of a relationship with you, talking to you about all these things.
No, I wouldn't say I had a long... I wouldn't say that I knew her regularly and consistently, as I would perhaps know somebody who regularly supplied me information on politics, because she was more in the world of business, but in India, the world of business often overlaps with the world of politics. And so I would speak to her from time to time. She would sometimes call.
But when you were saying things to her like, oh my God, let me talk to him, talking to Ghulam, did you really go and speak to Ghulam Nabi Azad?
No. And Ghulam Nabi issued a statement which nobody cared about, saying she never called me. The last time I spoke to her was when I was Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir.
Haan, that I saw.
Also, oh my God, you know, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. There's a tone. I played the damn tape.
So what was your tone then?
A flat, oh my God. Hear the tape.
Did you say journalists have a mukhata, as, you know, politicians do?
I mean, journalism to some degree is a little bit of a game of seduction and betrayal. But I would, in that little bubble of trying to get information, create a certain kind of feigned friendliness, camaraderie, maybe even empathy at times. I'm going to pretend with a lot of people that I'm on their side. It doesn't sound very nice when you pull out those conversations and you play them out. And I'm an equal opportunity in a sense. No, equal. I would do a lot, but not break a code of integrity to get information. And if that involves, for example, let's take the BJP and the Congress, on the Lokpal, or on Anna Hazare, or any issue, FDI. If I get called from X person of the BJP and they say, this government is completely nuts and, you know, look at what they've done and look at how they've timed it, I am going to sort of say, yeah, I see what you're saying, whatever. Go on with the conversation, get a sense of where they are. Congress calls me, I'm going to talk in exactly the same tone. Somebody asked me on that show that I did on television, how come you knew exactly what was going on in the Congress? I said, I'm a damn good journalist and I know exactly what's going on in the BJP as well. And I stand by that. I think that this... I mean, it's so ironic that Mr. Vinod Mehta apparently writes in his book about how he was lunching with Mr. A. Raja and he admired his safari suit. And I've never even met the man that Vinod Mehta accused me of lobbying for. But Vinod Mehta's been out to lunch with him. I don't see anybody tapping Mr. Mehta's phones or giving us a piece-by-piece account of Vinod Mehta's lunch with A. Raja. I'd love to have been an eavesdropper on that conversation and seen exactly how standoffish Vinod Mehta was with A. Raja. Surely A. Raja is the culprit more than Neera Radia in the 2G scam. He's the actual offender. Mr. Mehta was out to lunch with him. I've never met the man. Giving him a right to respond.
You're in a position to get an investigation going on who planted these tapes. On
how would I do this investigation? People would accuse
in journalism.
Me of, people would accuse me of having a personal interest. I have no personal interest. The only reason that I have questions, but I would not necessarily investigate themselves, is that I never want to be in a position where, somebody could turn around and tell me.
But so what?
That
That's being cowardly, Barkha.
No, I'm not cowardly. Madhu, if I were cowardly, I would have hidden under my bed after the tapes.
No, but
I didn't hide for a single day.
But you could still investigate this. You could. You are in a position to do it.
Well, maybe there's a thought there, and maybe
why should you respond to what people will say?
No, I don't
generally
give a toss about what people say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then, this is a position where it should be investigated.
I actually think you've convinced me that there is much more to investigate.
Okay, tell me, what's your take on paid news, private treaties? I mean, you know what has been said about journalism by the owner of the largest news organization, not in India, in the world. His newspaper is the largest in the world in pure numbers, and his television. And he says that he's selling toothpaste. Are we toothpaste today?
No. And I just wish that there was a little more outrage against these issues.
But that's what I'm saying. People don't know they're buying toothpaste. And you are toothpaste then.
And this is where, when you asked the first question at the beginning of this interview, why were certain journalists treated with respect and you guys get it in the neck? We're TV. People just don't. I feel print is able to hide behind a web, cobwebs. People don't know. The guy who opens his paper every day does not have a face to put his vitriol on always. And therefore, the TV person, TV is the favorite whipping girl. Favorite whipping girl.
No, but we're talking about paid news.
Whereas the
paid
ethical questions around paid news are, in my opinion, much deeper in print. Paid news is a much deeper malaise in print than it is in television.
Yes, it is.
It is. And the consumer doesn't
Would you
seem to
do a
be
story
aware.
to expose it?
I am still uncomfortable about media doing stories on media. I'm talking to you in my personal capacity.
Then we all protect each other.
No, we don't.
Isn't that the accusation?
My God, nobody in this fraternity has protected me. I know people say that. Nobody in the worst and the most personal vitriol against me has come to me from people in my trade.
Can you take it? That's one thing.
I was actually going to say that the fact that I actually respond back to tweets, I only ever respond if it's a legitimate question. I actually engage. There are very few people. I have 440,000 people on my Twitter page, and I have blocked maybe about 150, only because they were abusive. And everybody else, not everybody else is adulatory. I mean, many of them may be critics. They're on my page. I talk to them. I don't think I have a problem. I think I'm pretty good at taking criticism.
Can you take it? This is Madhu Train signing off from News Laundry.